live, sir. How are you, Paul?
Hi, Tony. How are you?
Good, good,
Nice to
good.
see you again.
Always good to see you, sir. What's it like out there today?
Well, still in lockdown up in TO, and still waiting for vaccines. Although I heard this morning 40% now, so I expect that my turn will come along soon. But we're still under strict lockdown orders. Like the schools are closed. I can't go out and get a haircut. Like you said yesterday, you went to a card show. I'm like, card show, geez, like everything's shut down here. Yeah.
Yeah, I just went locally, and there's a local card show. I got to see 75 Kings. Got to see Jeff there yesterday, so it was nice to see him.
Just the idea of going to a card show was so amazing. It's like, the little things you miss.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I've learned that the last three I've gone to now, there's not a whole lot that I'm missing because nobody really carries any wrestling cards except for Jeff. And
No, and I was wondering about that. Boom would get guys to carry more, but I guess now they just carry more of basketball and baseball.
No, it's literally a cookie cutter from every single. There's 25 dealers there approximately, and outside of Jeff, there was like everybody had the same thing, same thing. The only exciting thing about yesterday was I guess somebody brought some boxes to open up, and some guys were opening up some new basketball boxes. Like, oh my God, I got LeBron. They're like, oh, they're all happy. Other than that, there was nothing going on.
Gotcha.
So, but it's getting warmer out here, so we're getting ready to hit some triple digits, and
nice.
so it was fun to get out a little bit. So, hey, what do we got to talk about today? It's like that. We're going to do a quick one.
When I saw you last time, we were going to pick up right where we left off, because you remember last time we were together that Booker T autograph came up. And
let's talk about that. What kind of information have you picked up on that?
Well, just to give everyone sort of get them up to date. When we last spoke, that Booker T autograph came up, and it was one of the rare ones, one of the elusive eights, we call them. And when we signed off, it was at about $3,000, and we were both sort of taking bets on where it would go. So that week was an interesting week because I actually got offered $3,000 for my Hulk Hogan from some guy across the world. Started off with $2,000. I thought it was a joke. I said, that's very kind, but no thanks. Came back to me the next day. He said $3,000, and I won't bother you after this. I'm like, oh man, this guy's serious. And I declined again. Fast forward to the end of the week, and the Booker T autograph ended up selling for, I think, $5,300 US. And you and I said, oh, maybe not quite as much as we thought, but we thought that was the end of the story.
Yep.
But it wasn't.
No. But wait, there's more.
No, there's more. So this past week, on the heels of a very elusive, once in a lifetime Booker T autograph turning up and selling for $5,500 or $5,300, another one shows up. This one autographed Booker T Harlem Heat. But here's the kicker. It's not a 99 like we know when he signed. It's a 98. It's a 99 with a different WCW
same
logo,
exact image in the front.
Same exact image in the front. And the card itself looked like every other card from that Last Embossed series. But you and I right away, well, hang on a second here. We're not aware of two of any one card, except as you pointed out, the Horace Hogan might have been a variant that had the two different logos. Mm-hmm. So right away, we were curious. Now, I've done business with the seller. He's a reputable guy. And he told me that Booker T gave it to him directly. And that's when I thought, well, that's interesting. So which one of the two cards did Top actually print? But then later in the day, we found out, or he was kind enough to post a picture of Booker T actually signing the card that was currently for sale. Mm-hmm. And that put an end to all discussion as to, well, is it a legitimate signature or not? And then we found out that, in actual fact, he did get two cards from WCW that he never sent back, as did Horace Hogan. He sent one back, but there was a second one that he kept for a while and didn't send back. So that sort of blew up our sort of understanding of what the elusive eight is. Mm-hmm. And then we also heard rumors that there may have been a Jimmy Hart floating around out there as well.
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me to be a Jimmy Hart that's floating around. We're kind of have some connection problems here a little bit, but
so anyways, they listed it at $11,500, and then it's currently sitting at $8,500 of best offer, and we know it's been signed by Booker, probably just recently, and I'm going to ask you your opinions on that.
I didn't see that got changed in price. Last I saw it was listed for $14,500.
14.5, then 11.5, then 85 now, and that's where it's presently. And I think every couple of days it's going down. But I guess the scenario, as we understand it to be now, is that he was given a set from the very first 98 set, didn't return them.
Who confirmed that is what actually happened?
Well, we have a picture.
Picture Schmitzer. I think people want to buy into something that without all the facts there, I guess, all the evidence. It just shows a picture of someone signing something. So you can
So your
argue all
question
different
is,
ways that, oh,
and
well, he's not sitting on these forever. He didn't print them himself. He had these in his possession. Great. I want to know, how did you end up with those in your possession? Did you
so
get
that's
them from Topps? Did you get them from Jimmy Hart? Did another fan go, hey, I have these cards for you. Would you like to have them?
right.
Oh, no.
Yeah. As I mentioned to you that day, I obviously got out my WCWs and I got out a magnifying glass and I went through, as I posted on Twitter, the 2 Booker T's that were on the market, the one from last week and one from this week. And I would not be able to tell the difference from the backs of those cards between any of the others in the set. So I'm led to believe that Topps printed those cards. However,
Agreed.
Is it just the case of Horace Hogan and Booker T that they each got 2? Because we're not aware of any other superstars or performers on the day that had 2 different variants.
Correct.
Right. So that's where the question is that did Topps actually print 2 and did Booker actually not return the 2? And that's a question, I guess, for Booker himself. But my theory is that he saw what happened last week. He had them and thought, hey, now again, the seller is reputable. Booker T himself is shown there, so we know it's legit, right? It just begs the question as to did Topps actually make those 2 and Booker sit on them for so long, as did Horace Hogan with one of his 2 variants.
Correct.
And then, sorry, I got cut off before I mentioned Jimmy Hart, and I know right away you had something to say about that.
No. I was saying that, I mean, he still returned some of his cards back, though. He did return his cards.
But we've been made to understand that they're even though neither of us have seen the Jimmy Hart card, that's been seen as well. Like you mentioned this week on those comic images, the X-Pac and the Undertaker.
Sure.
They didn't send those back as well.
Yeah, there's supposed to be when I was talking to Comic Images on a regular basis, they had told me multiple times that their intention was to have 20 different signers for that release. And as it ended up being, only 11, I think, actually got put out. And we know of a few others that would make it up to like 15, I think. So we're missing 5 others.
Which is a rare one.
Yep.
Right. I don't have Owen. That's the one I'm missing.
Yeah.
I've seen the X-Pac.
Yep.
But never seen Mark Henry Undertaker.
Yeah.
That Undertaker would be the one to get, obviously.
Of course. And the only reason why I picked that one up like that is I confirmed it. I had confirmed it with Comic Image that indeed they did make cards for him like that, but they weren't quite clear on all the other ones. They were. It's tough to tell. So and again, I put out my feeler to the guys who used to work for Comic Images, and I'm trying to get them to come on and talk about the company.
What's your thoughts on this, Booker T? Like, where do you sit with it?
It's interesting. It's interesting. I just want to know where the cards came from. It makes me want to go out really to try and track down the gentleman that I was told to go try and find when I interviewed Jeff Zapata, who was the one who handled all the cards from Topps to WCW, which went through Jimmy Hart at the time. And he actually sat with all the talent that actually did sign.
He would remember.
He would remember. So, I mean, he'd be the person that has the best recollection of that anyways.
And he'd be able to verify the 2 variants.
I've also already put out a feeler to one of my contacts who is the current lead editor for all the WWE cards right now. And he's put in a word for somebody at Topps has got to be an historian for them, an archivist for them. And I want to be able to talk to someone who actually can help verify. Because, I mean, they're notorious for having their Topps vault. They do all their Mars Attacks things and GPK stuff in the 80s. And I don't know why they wouldn't have something from the late 90s.
You got real close with Zapata there on that show. Yeah. You really unearthed a lot. And he mentioned that one guy and you had said, yeah. And since then,
I gotta go back and do my homework and follow up with him, because he had told me he tried to get a hold of him through the phone numbers he had, the address he had. And I don't recall exactly where that led to. I think it led to like no returns. And so I got to find this guy. Every time I look for this guy up, I find someone's obituary. That's not even him. Yeah. Same name, but not him.
So that was probably the most interesting thing that happened this week in wrestling cards, is that Booker T. And the next time we speak, we'll see what it went for.
Yeah, absolutely. So which it kind of leads us into other things. Like, has the Booker T card maybe caused other cards from that set? Not from that set, but just other cards are kind of going up in value right now a little bit. All cards are going up in value, but it's that Booker T one.
I'm going to throw some prices at you in a little bit. And we're going to look at what's been happening sort of in the last while.
Earlier you mentioned like that. We were just talking a little bit about it and going, hey, first there's this Booker T thing and it so goes off. All of a sudden somebody asked about a New Jack card and that started going off now. And you put, hey, I have one. It's right here.
Right. And that's not the same sort of snack bracket as the Booker T.
No, but it's still like, it becomes like this. I didn't know it existed kind of thing.
But that's from the 2010 Extreme set. And that Extreme set is interesting because they had a bunch of signers in there that didn't sign on any of the others. Like they had some guys that signed all 12 or 13 TriStar releases. Then they had some guys like New Jack and Guido that only signed for that set. So they're not quite as common. But some
Anybody
people
else
had
from
never
that
seen
set?
them before. Sorry?
Anybody else from that set? Like it seems like because it was Extreme, so you obviously have New
Yeah,
Jack.
you know what? I'd have to pull it out. I don't even remember some of the names because I didn't even know a lot of the guys. You know, I guess they
Oh,
were indie guys for
gotcha.
them, but interesting.
So what's then what's going on in the market now? Let's just do our little quick little market
Let's talk about
recap.
what's happening this week, and then we'll throw out some prices to
Sure.
give people an idea of what's happening in wrestling cards. First of all, we got news this week that Heritage, WWE is going to be putting out a Heritage set later in the year.
I like the look of that too, by the
Yeah,
way.
me too. It's a baseball.
It's the 1990 baseball set, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen those in a couple of years, so that's going to be cool. And then we also got wind that Impact is going to be putting out a set.
But do we know yet? Has anybody mentioned who might be making those?
No, we don't know. Like it's like the Upper Deck in AEW. It's confirmed that it's coming, but we know very little about it. But just
We only know it's confirmed that it's coming, but we don't know who the hell's still making it yet. We're assuming that it's Upper Deck based on some sketchy images we've seen.
Yes. And I guess the last bit of big news on the week is the release of a card by an outfit called WrestlingTradingCards.com. It seems like they put out the first of their limited edition Kevin Nash autographs. And congratulations to you, sir. It's the top of the hobby. Now, obviously,
yeah, right.
Yeah, because I'm up here in Toronto and I'm going to be the last guy to get one.
Probably. There's only a little bit of those left, by the way. So there's plenty of the regular unsigned base cards are still left, and that's for any kind of donation. I mean, well, I have it on the website. You can go check it out. There's only 2 left at number to 10. One sold out. Up to 5 is sold out. Only 2 left at number to 10, and maybe 8 or 10 left number to 25. That's it.
I've already got the post ready to set up. I just don't have my card yet. So I'm just looking forward to the time that I could say, Tony Vella, you made the list.
There's number to 25.
Yeah. Well
done. I have only
the response has been overwhelming. Everyone's digging them. But you know you've done now. Like I'm even going to post it as the WTC trading card series.
Yeah,
so, no pressure.
I'll tell you right now, because this is going to air tomorrow, by the way. So, but I'll tell you right now, there is a second one in the works already.
Awesome.
So it'll be probably late summer.
Awesome.
So there is one.
Well, you see what you've done here is you haven't just caught the collectors and the crazy guys like me. I think you've sort of got into the mainstream with this one. And not only is it a dynamite looking card, it's just fantastic that you as a guy that's provided so much information to the hobby and been such a resource for everybody else is actually in the custom card making business.
Well, it's been a dream for like over 10 years now to do one.
So congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a long time. I've been wanting to do one for a long time, and technology allows it to happen now these days. I mean, 10 years ago, yeah, it was still around, probably technology, but it just, I don't know, maybe my drive wasn't as much as it is today. It's like that. But when the opportunity kind of came, I said, I can't let this one pass. I got to do it. And if I'm going to redo and start bringing WTC up to date, which has been late nights doing that. Late nights, man, a lot of late nights. I'm finally into the 90s.
Yeah.
I think I just finished up the 1991 sets checklist.
Nice.
So I've done everything from 1800s to 1991.
So it's getting there.
So now I'm getting into the meat of it. You know, there's a lot of sets.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that you got us to give you all you have everything. You know, like I've got. If there's a set that's out there and it's not listed on my site, I wonder if it's a set.
Well, I used to think that way with WTC.
I know. Chuck and I spent a lot of time in between while you were down, filling in a lot of holes, going back and finding in a lot of things, finding things that weren't on WTC, that weren't on Anthony's site, that I didn't have. So it's good. So when you come out, and get caught up, you're going to
I mean, I know there's going to be some places to fill in some holes like that. Chuckster was very helpful. And I've got the placements for all the stuff for 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, going back to 2014. I've got all the stuff filled in, ready to go to be made in a checklist.
Well, wait till you hit 2019, 2020, and you see how many sites actually.
Oh, I know. I already put them all up there.
You can do indies, you can do Slam Attack, you do Japan, you do tops. Yeah, you got work at you.
I've got them all in places.
Enjoy the process of doing it, and we're all anxiously awaiting.
I'm actually having a little bit of fun going through it because one of the cool things I'm finding obviously typos from the old site. I'm finding typos and spacing issues, things like that. But I did find an interesting fun fact. As we all know, we have the 1990 Classic set, and there was an 89 copyright date version of that as well.
Yep.
But I think it got mislabeled on the site and has been known as the classic set from 1989, which is fine because it's called classic, but it wasn't produced and made by Classic.
Oh, really? It was someone else?
No, it's by a company called Good Time Entertainment.
But it's the same set.
Same set. Good Time Entertainment, which was a subsidiary of some other company.
Well, you see what happens, Tony. You guys put out something that's wrong 15 years ago, however long ago. I pick up on it, Anthony picks up on it, and it becomes lore because now we've sort of become the record for this stuff.
Of course. So, but as things happen, records are made to be broken.
They're going to go to the price guide and say, oh yeah, classic 89. They're going to go to WTC, oh, classic 89. That's good, right? So stuff like that, we have to make sure.
Well, that's why it's always a work in progress. It's always going to be updated. I'm going through and I find things, and I was looking at it, I kind of like, I saw the card itself. I looked at the copyright information, and okay, this is 1989 one. Okay, make sure I got this all right. And looking at this stuff. Yeah. Good time copyright. Good night. Doesn't even say classic on it.
Yeah, that's a good find. Well, even when Chuck and I jumped into the Japanese stuff this year, I didn't want to because I'm like, once we start, where does it stop? Yeah. Once I hit that those early 70s stuff, the Rob England, like there's so much of that stuff that's not categorized. They have something called Menko in Japan where anything on anything, and it's a set, and but as I was doing it, I was enjoying it. And the next thing you know, I bought a set, and then Chuck sent me a couple of sets, and then the next thing you know, oh great, now I've got how many Japanese?
You're in. You're in. I went through it because I bought this recently. I bought a complete set of Lucha Libre cards from the I want to say sometime in the 80s. I think that set came out because there's no date on it that I can tell. It's a complete set that was printed in Japan, so it's all written in Japanese, but it's all AAA Lucha Libre cards that I'd never seen before.
Yeah, it's like those AWA cards that I found. They're called Basatsu Gong, and it was a magazine that they put out. And much like what we've done here, where you cut out the cards and slap them and say, hey, it's a card. Same thing with some of these Japanese magazines where those postcards and things like that. Loads of stuff. The Cosmos, the token cards.
Yeah, I can't wait to get my Cosmos set back.
All that stuff. But you know what? We're on top of it. That's why once you get everything up to date, you'll fill in a lot more of the detail because you're the information.
Well, I'm actually looking for stuff like I'm going through my storage unit and I'm finding some like not old boxes, but stuff from the 2010s forward kind of boxes of stuff, empty boxes and I have all the wrappers.
Yeah, and you get a lot of information off that stuff, right?
You get information off it. Sometimes it's correct, sometimes it's incorrect. But what I want off that stuff, I want UPC numbers. I want to start archiving all that stuff. Yeah. So it's all going to all of it's going to be on there.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that as you're doing it, you're enjoying yourself. Because I think I mentioned to you last time that I've started to sort of go back over the price guide, especially in the last 9 months with the spike.
Yep.
And look at eBay solds and get a better sense on some of the more visited stuff, particularly the WCW autographs. And we were chatting about that earlier.
Yep.
And as I was doing that, what I use a site called 130 Point.
Yep.
And there's other ones, Watch Count, and a few others. And all you do is you go to them, you type in what card you're looking for specifically, and they give you like the last 90 days, and you get an idea. So as I was doing that, I thought, oh, next time I talk with Tony, I'll pull some cards here and let's see, show the world how the market is doing. So we're going to play Name That Card, Tony. I wish I had some cheesy games.
I wish I was better at knowing the pricing. So price is not my thing.
Well, I could just read a list and say this one for this, but let's see how close you get.
All right, let's see.
What I'll do is I'll throw you a softball to start because I think you know the answer to this. First one we're going to start with, and we'll talk about each card because the whole idea is that we'll say, hey, it's got this. We can talk about what's remarkable about that set card. First one is 2013 Upper Deck Hulk Hogan Precious Metal. Now, you know that got a big number last week.
I want to say it went somewhere around $1,700, $1,800.
Perfect. Absolutely, $1,775.
Okay.
And that's an interesting one because it's not a wrestling set. It's part of a Upper Deck series, right? The Precious Metal.
Upper Deck. It's employees only.
Oh, is that it?
It's an employees only card.
That particular card or that Precious Metal series?
I think that particular card, or who's the best one to talk about? Zan would know that.
Yes, and I know he's fond of that card. I do realize that the one that's number 125 is an employee only.
Yeah.
But are all of those like that, or is it just?
Don't know. That's the only wrestling card that I know from that series, I think.
Now, we're going to talk about Hogan again in a minute, but that's an interesting one because you remember, I think it was Allen and Ginter. There was a one-off Hogan that for a while was doing quite well, but this is interesting because it's not part of a top set or not part of a Leaf set, but just part of a sort of different series, and that's a pretty big number for Hogan.
It is. Well, It's Hogan.
And you're one for one. You nailed it spot on. Okay, number 2, happy birthday today, as it so happens, to The Rock.
Yep.
No surprise, the 1998 Comic Images signed Rock has been getting big numbers. And I pulled the biggest sale, but there was a few right around. So take a guess as to, now, by the way, these cards are all raw, not graded. Because obviously, once we get into graded cards, then the sky's the limit. So everything we're talking about is just raw cards that I'm going to be asking you about.
That's a good point, because I was gonna guess on a graded version. Like, okay,
No,
so
you can't
raw
do that
cards.
because obviously a 9 and a 6 is different, right? But
Correct.
my point is, what I'm trying to show today is that I want to show you what some numbers are getting for raw cards, like that Upper Deck Hulk Hogan was not graded, right? What does an ungraded Comic Images signed Rock for go for?
5,500.
Sorry?
5,500.
No, not that high.
Okay.
No, you're back down into the same range as the Upper Deck Hulk Hogan, 1,700.
Oh, okay.
Now a PSA graded Rock is going to get that and then some, I suspect.
Again, I'm still thinking graded. So yes, raw.
All right, so here's one for you. This might blow your mind. What is a 2016 Topps Alexa Bliss 1 of 1 worth?
Oh,
I presume it's her rookie card from 2016.
I want to say 3,200.
No, you're a little high on that again.
Am I?
Yeah. Again, these are ungraded.
I'm throwing. I figure a 1 of 1 someone would want to get graded, but
yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about that in a second with the All-Stars. The Alexa Bliss 1650. So again, in the same range as the Hogan, the same range.
Nice.
But
I'm so bad at this.
well, you got the first one spot on. Let's talk about Transcendent. What's a 2020 Transcendent Hulk Hogan inscribed auto to 20 going to sell for this past month?
Raw, you said, right?
Raw. Everything I'm talking about is raw, because once you get graded, it gets
2,500.
Well, you're still a little bit high.
Am I?
Yeah. 1350.
That seems kind of low.
Well, that's what they're getting. Now, well, I'll tell you something else that's very interesting about Transcendence, because I've also going to ask you, what did a 2019 and a 2020 Vince Transcendent auto sell for? Now, I'll give you a hint. You can go onto eBay now, and there's a couple listed for $2,000, and they're not getting it, so it's lower than that.
Yeah, I was going to say around 1,100, 1,200.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
The Hogan and 2 Vinces, one got 1,100, one got 13, one got 12, but that seems to be the settled market on those autos. So if I want to finally get that Vince, $1,000 really shouldn't be out of the question.
Shouldn't be. No, really shouldn't be.
All right, let's talk about a set that we never talk about, the 1982 Wrestling All-Stars. Now, you know what's really interesting is that pretty much anytime you find one of those on eBay, they're graded, especially a good card like a Hogan or an Andre. So, and it's very rare to find a raw Hogan or a raw Andre, but a raw Andre did come up on eBay. Take a guess at what a raw Andre 82 All-Stars gets.
700.
Nice. That's pretty good. $640. You see, you do know your stuff. That Andre graded could be a $20,000 card with a high enough grade. We know
could be
whatever it might be. Now, let's stay on this theme of the All-Stars. The 1983 All-Star set, which is the third one.
Yeah.
A full set. Now, you never get sets of those ungraded turning up on eBay. They sell the singles usually graded.
I just posted I didn't post it actually. I sent it to Zan. I was going through storage yesterday and I came across that set just sitting in a box.
Okay, so that set in good condition, ungraded, sold. What does that 36 card set get now?
I'm gonna say $500.
Keep going.
1,000?
Yeah, $1,200.
1,200.
Now, that begs the question then, what is the All-Stars A worth, right? Ungraded. You know,
sure.
figuring that the Andre is worth 600, the Hogan's got to be worth $500, $600, $700.
At least, yeah.
And I did that experiment. I showed you the results earlier this week when I sent you. You know, I figure that the All-Star set is probably going to land somewhere around $3,500 to $4,000 for Series A, ungraded for all the pieces. The second one is going to go down about $1,000 to $1,200 from that, and we actually saw a Series 3 from 83 sell, or Series 183.
Yeah.
Now that asked me, and I put it out on Twitter. Well, let's compare that to the WCW All-Stars. Let's compare those three.
The WCW set,
right.
Autographs.
Because the WCW autographs, we have 3 sets of roughly 35 or however many cards.
37, 37, and 27.
Right. So in this case, I just wanted to compare what's the value of that set compared to the All-Stars. And I think I sent you the results.
Yes, and it was like night and day. There was no comparison.
Yeah, that's not counting a $5,000 Booker T, because that doesn't count, and that's not putting a Hulk Hogan at $2,500.
Yeah, you did. I think the spreadsheet you sent me also, it didn't include any of the elusive 8. It didn't include any of that. It was just
No, 'cause that's not
what you could pull from packs.
correct. And you know, I'm not making up these numbers. This is from eBay Souls. The difference was incredible. We came up with something like almost $15,000 for the first WCW set. So that's an interesting discussion as to.
So what was the total? What was the total difference if I wanted all 3 of those sets versus all 3 All-Star sets?
You know what? I should have pulled it up before I raised it. I can't recall what it was, but
it's okay.
Big difference. Yeah, big difference in what it was. You have it there?
I'm here.
Yeah. No, I was wondering if you had that spreadsheet that I sent you.
I can pull it up while we go ahead and talk. I can pull it up easily.
All right. Speaking of sets, then here's one. What does a 1986 Monty Gum set get now for all the pieces?
A 1986 Monty Gum set. I gotta think that's a joke. It's got to be.
It's a joke set, right?
Yeah, I want to say. I'm going to overshoot probably again because I'm just going to think, oh, it's got to be an astronomical amount that I would never guess. But $300.
Keep going.
Really?
Yeah.
500?
Yeah, 475.
Oh my God. It's incredible. If I wanted to get all 3 sets of the All-Stars based on your pricing and research right now, all raw, it'd be about $4,825 on average. If I wanted all 3 WCW autograph sets, it's $16,475.
Right. That's the difference in appreciation. Again, raw, because obviously when you grade a card, but what happens when you start grading these WCW autographs?
Oh, I can only imagine it's going to go through the roof.
What if I was to send in my rare signed Hogan for grading, you know?
Yeah.
And it graded high, you know, would it compete with the 82 Hogan?
Even if it doesn't grade high, I think if it graded a 6.
Yeah, it's still going to
it's still going to be a higher value than the raw, I think.
Right. Let's carry on with sets. So we said Monty Gum 475. What does a 1991 WCW Argentina Chromie set with the stunning Steve Austin get?
About $1,200, $1,100.
Keep going. More.
I have to tell you right now, I just sold one for $1,100. So.
Really? You know what you could have gotten?
No, what could I get?
$1,980.
Well, yes, because that's why I did sell mine, because the 3 prior to mine all went for $1,900.
You saw that, huh?
Yes.
That's a lot.
They were all done by Buy It Now as best offers, actually. All done by best offers because they were listed for
130 point is they show you what offer was accepted, so that you're not paying.
Because they were, I think they were listed for $2,000 each, something like that, or $2,200 each, like that. And they ended up going for $1,900 and change. Actually, a couple of them actually had bids up to $1,900 and change.
So that's a big number for any set.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to talk about what happened with Fleer in a second, but I'm going to give you the top selling Fleer set. And then I'm going to tell you an interesting thing that's happening with Fleer because I've got a ton of it. So I spent a lot of time looking at that.
That's all right up my alley too.
Yeah. The 2002 Royal Rumble set. And we know why, right? It's
yep.
got the 4 big ones. What did that get last month?
1,500.
No.
No?
A little bit lower, but this is for an ungraded set.
Ungraded sets like $800, $900.
610. So you're
okay.
You're too far off. But what's interesting about that is that that's 610 for a base Fleer set. Now you know what the rest of them go for? Very roughly, and I've got them all, and I've spent a lot of time doing this.
15, 20 bucks.
$10.
$10.
$10. There hasn't been any appreciation, hardly at all, that I can find in the Fleer sets. You can still go out there and get pretty much most of them. You know what the more disappointing things for me were the parallel sets. Like, for example,
oh God, those never held any value, which bugged me.
No, like the incremental increase in those sets is not that high, you know. So you would think, okay, I bought a base set for 15, 20 bucks. I got the gold set for 100. No, they're selling for like 30, 35.
I have several still sitting in inventory. I still have several from that, you know, Chaos gold parallel, the WrestleMania 20 gold parallel, the Absolute Divas, you know, gold parallel. I mean, they don't go for nothing.
The other thing too is that Fleer put out some great insert sets.
Absolutely.
Right? $10, $20. There's none of them that are really,
except when you get from the All Access, when you start getting like the Kurt Angle, you know, ribbon cards like that.
I'm not talking memorabilia. I'm just talking chase cards.
Oh, chase cards. Chase.
Yeah, not just chase sets. Yeah, sure. Once you put together like all of the autographs, and then you price those separately. Yeah. But that's interesting. In the Fleer years, and we're going to get back to Alexa in a second. Divas outsold the other sets by wide margin. Yeah. If I go back and I look at what are the most popular cards from that era, the Divas, I'm not going to say they get double the top diva to what the top male performer might get, but they get at least a point and a half more.
Sure.
You know?
Absolutely.
And that's what I got another one here to ask you about. What about a Topps Alexa Bliss signed kiss card from 2017?
Not really my era, stuffs like that. So, $750.
Not bad at all. 870,
Okay.
right? Now again, Alexa Bliss, and I should mention her because she's the most popular selling card out there at the moment of all the new performers. You might think it's Roman Reigns, you might think it's Brock Lesnar.
Nah.
It's Alexa Bliss by a wide margin. And I was somewhat aware of her popularity, but in going over and looking at the resale value of Sasha and Charlotte and of the top guys like AJ, the problem with AJ is he's signed a lot and there's
Sent a lot. Yeah.
yeah. But Alexa Bliss by far is the most popular diva. And
is there any increase now with the push the companies are giving to some of these other new female talent? Is there any increase in value for like the Biancas and the
it's early, you know, like I saw Slam Attacks Bianca go for like $60, which was a lot more than I thought a single Slam Attacks card would go. And that's the thing, you get these odd sales where somebody really likes a performer and grabs it, you know. And of course, once you get into parallels, like if you got to pay an extra 10 or 20 for an angle parallel that you want, you'll do it, right? So get those kinds of sales. But those are some interesting numbers. How about a 94 action-packed Undertaker auto?
Well, there's been several of those going on right now. So
what are they at?
Around 1,000.
Yeah, 1,500. Yeah. So, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards in the last 90 days, raw, almost $2,000.
Nice.
So that's the state of our hobby. And we wouldn't have been having this conversation a year ago, let alone 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's
I remember people were like, I'm not paying a couple $100 for that card.
No, you're not paying 150 for a hardcore hack.
Yeah. You know? It's funny because the reason why I asked about it, if any new stars are seeing an increase in their card sales right now, and their values, is because I remember, I was talking with Zan just the other day and said that, the new Dark Side of the Ring just came out featuring, Flying Brian, and that instantly, as soon as that episode hit, Zan sold out all of his Flying Brian cards are gone. He sold them all.
Really?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's the thing. Like Savage will air tonight on the A&E show, and who knows, maybe Savage will see some action tomorrow.
Well, he's been getting some action too, because Undertaker and him getting a lot of action from that action pack.
Yeah. Those action pack, like that's the 1-2 punch, like those cards, and I'd forgotten that I actually had the Undertaker. It was so long ago. Like because I missed out on the Raw's War, the War Booty one for so many years. I completely forgot about the action pack. And then when I went and checked and it was there, it was like the new jacket. It's like, yes. It's like there's a set called E-Tops that came out in like 2007.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, there was a Tori auto and I didn't get any of them except for one. And I thought, which one did I get? And I got the Rock. So it's perfect.
You're okay.
Yeah, I should be all right.
You should be all right. What other numbers you got for us?
Rumble, that's it. I just want to talk about the Alexa, how well she's doing, and just throw the sort of general vibe out there that, people are paying for wrestling cards, Obviously, with All-Stars, with vintage stuff, you want to get that stuff graded. The All-Star stuff, it's very hard to come by that stuff raw because it makes more sense. It makes more sense to exactly define what the thing is worth so that so it's clear to the buyer. But on the modern stuff, people say, oh, you should go grade some of the modern stuff. I don't do any of it, but I don't think I would ever bother unless it was $100 or more that the card was worth. Because I guess just with the time.
So, but Alexa Bliss stuff would probably be something that someone would be interested in getting graded.
Like some of this parallel Alexa stuff. Like, hey, you're even collecting Kurt now, and you banged off a 1 of 1. 2-3 years from now, that card's worth money, right?
Yeah.
So you probably want to get that one graded, but there's no need for you to go out and grade that Russian card of Kurt Angle.
No.
It's that's part of the collection because it's neat, but you don't have to. You don't have to get them all graded. It just seems that the older stuff, it's more important too, I think.
Well, I mean, there's some stuff that today will be older one day.
Yeah, exactly.
So the market is very good. I mean, I have seen a little bit of decline in the 85 top sets.
Have you?
Yeah, I'm seeing numbers kind of, nothing drastic, but it's coming down a little bit. It's not getting the same kind of, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I've seen some that I thought it was going higher at one point.
The problem is that you got the Hogan that makes there hasn't been a lot of sets traded because everyone's going to pull the Hogan and sell that one individually.
Correct.
But let's go back to our favorites, the Impels. What are they worth nowadays?
That's a good question. What are they worth nowadays?
$20
for a complete set.
Did you not?
Yeah,
Sorry?
did you not recently, like in the last few months, that was like one of your #1 visited pages?
By far. If you look at all the videos that I have on my site, and I look at which videos have had the most views, which site, which page of all the sets, because each page, each set is a page on my site, right? So
Yeah.
you go to the price guide and you want to check out this set, you want to check out that set. I get data on who goes where, and by far, it's the 91 impulse,
That's
and
crazy to me.
they haven't spiked in value at all. You know, you can still buy them for next to nothing, but like number two is All Star Series A, not surprisingly,
Okay, not surprising.
but it's by a wide margin, you know. And
Did,
normally you get the more recent stuff because people are interested in the fully loaded and in the chrome and in the
sure.
fine. So they're checking those out because that's fresh. But it's interesting to see what back sets, like who's going to see what from 2010 and 2005 and in the 80s and stuff like that. But the impels still are the most popular searched. And someone suggested maybe because they're easy to get. So people are going on there to check them out because they're still all over the place. And clearly
Well,
they
I
have.
mean, I've made the joke for years that they printed so much that they're still printing it today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that and championship marketing.
Yeah. Well, they didn't print as many championship marketing.
Yeah. Well, I just recently had a conversation with Chuckster about that. We kind of compared like the Impel is probably more geared towards kids, where the championship market is more geared towards adults.
Right. Right.
We have a different, same era, same characters and stuff like that, but it's just more sort of poppy feely with the kids for Impel. And then there's like some darker elements when it came to not only the design, but some of the pictures and wording they even use for some of the stuff, like, Psycho Sid getting like, all
Right.
electric.
Yeah. Yeah. They had them in a choke thing or something.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I don't think I would have guessed that. Asked me 6 months ago that would be your most popular page being viewed as Impel. I would never have guessed that.
Me neither. No, me neither.
Just mind-boggling to me.
But that's not reflected in the market, is my point.
No, yeah, which is
out there. You can still buy that set for 20. Even the Sting hologram, I thought would have done a little better. You can get those for 40, $50. I would have thought they would have been a little higher. There is something called a Ric Flair Hulk Hogan Tech Chrome. I think it's from the main event series. That's a little harder to get, but the Sting seems to be. I think they printed more of those than we might have figured because they're out there. There's quite a few.
I mean, they're case incentive type cards, but the Tech Chromes are pretty hard to come by, and even the promo card that Chuck and I just talked about, that KKLZ promo card is pretty hard to come by too.
Yeah, I have that one as well. That's a rare one. That's the one with Nash on it, isn't it?
It's one who?
Is that the one with Nash on it?
No. This is from the 95 card set called it's the KKLZ promo that features Hogan and Savage.
Yes, I have that card as well.
They were supposedly like 20,000 produced, where the Tech Chrome was only 10,000 produced.
I got that fairly recently. Didn't a bunch of those get sold like maybe about 4 or 5 years ago? A guy had a bunch and put them on the market.
Could have been, yeah, could have been.
That's when I got mine. I didn't think it was that rare. Yeah. I just thought it was neat because there's also from Fleer the Championship Redemption cards, and those are hard to come by. Really hard to come by because most people redeemed.
There was only 50 of them.
Yeah, and most people actually sent them in to get the redemption, right?
But which you got nothing for it because there was no belts.
Right. What did they get?
They got something comparable. They gave you a card, like an autograph or something like that. Okay. I mean, I pulled a redemption from the All Access where I was supposed to get a Maven autograph, but he never signed.
So what you get instead? Do you remember?
They gave me a Torrie Wilson, I think.
Well, that's okay. Better than Maven.
Yeah. Well, that Maven's probably worth more money now because it's so rare.
Yeah, I guess, huh?
I should have just kept the redemption for it. I think I probably was not smart enough to scan that Maven.
I have a couple of cards, Diva Ink ones that are redemption, and one of Torrie and a few of those. A few of those were on the market floating around for a lot less than the other divas. So I would snag those back in the day. I used to be a bottom feeder that, hey, a Kiss card for 25, I'll take it. That kind of, But
I remember when Fleer went out of business and a lot of stuff got dispersed between myself, a couple of guys in SoCal, the Schmeltz brothers, and Grimm. Grimm took a big chunk of that too.
I ended up with some of Grimm's stock.
Yeah, he got a lot of like the dress code stuff and a lot of some of the Diva Ink stuff too. I think he got
a lot of that stuff ended up here.
Yeah. So I remember we went in on all that together and got a bunch of that stuff, and I took a very small amount, but there's plenty of it too. Surprisingly, there's not only the numbered stuff, but then they renumbered stuff as well. So you can have like something that was serial numbered to 50 and then also hand numbered to 50.
Yeah, so that's weird, huh?
Yeah. So like if there was actually 50 in existence, there was actually 100 they actually printed in case there was damage and errors and stuff like that.
Right.
It's crazy. So yeah, the market seems to be pretty strong. I know I talk with Zan quite a bit about, we don't get the recognition like other sports get. We,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
Zan does his market watch
yep,
videos quite often, and they're great because they sort of give us a snapshot and give us a visual. So I thought this would be an overriding sort of, yeah. It's as I'm working on updating some of the prices for the price guide and just getting a better sense of what's been happening.
when can
Um,
collectors go to your site and start seeing some of these new prices being,
Now,
and,
as I'm
oh,
doing it, I'm
oh,
not publishing. I'm not letting the world. I'm not sort of saying, "Hey, I've done this, I've done that." I've just, at night when I'm watching Raw, it's like I
sure,
grab the laptop and go on a 30 point, look at a bunch of things. The I've kept the All Stars current. At one point, David Peck was kind enough to send me his pricing, and I sort of got a hang of it and sort of
sure,
adjusted those slightly. The All Stars, things that people want. Like we know that people are going to be into the Fleer set. So I'm looking at that stuff, like the Sting hologram from Impel, because so many people are looking at it. It just seems to be like you go to that era of TriStar stuff. There's not a big buzz, even though we talked about the New Jack for
sure,
those chase sets, for those chase sets, for those relic cards, and then of course in around the time that you and David sort of took your hiatus,
hmm,
that's when wrestling cards with tops they started making. We never talk about the Then and Now series, which is basically the second half of the tops from each year. We never talk in detail about the 6 Road to WrestleMania series, how many Undisputeds we've had, how many Heritages we've. It was a lot of product, and it's
yep,
we talked about the junk wax era back in the '90s. It wasn't that, but for wrestling, that's a pretty small niche market as it is to have that much product. And of course, pandemic last year slowed down the number of releases, and they're starting to amp up again. And if they keep it to 4 to a half a dozen a year, that's great. But if they start going to 10, 12 major releases a year, that's just too much. And it's hard for the hobby itself, I think, to sustain that much product and keep value, because you don't want kids to go out, or kids, you don't want any of us to go out and lose our shorts on this stuff. So
yeah,
everyone's wisely trying to figure out, okay, what to buy. A lot of the best stuff has been bought already. Some guys have some amazing collections, amazing player collections, but there's still a lot out there to get. And as I've been showing you and we've been talking about today, people are paying for it.
yep. I wonder how long it's going to, maintain that levels like that. Are we going to see a dip? We're going to see, I think we are going to see a dip at some point, as the world starts to open up more. People are going to start spending their money someplace else. But
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see a huge dip.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. That it seems to be that when things reach a certain level, they tend to stay at that level unless something calamitous happens. But we are at a bit of a high, and people are spending more than they might have otherwise. But this might be a new reality. Who knows?
I think,
Like we were talking today, like Home Depot up here, for example, things are expensive. Like I deal with a lot of tradesmen and things like that. And I was talking to a guy this morning, and he's in the fence building business, and he can't buy pressure treated lumber. It's being brought in, and it's just really, really expensive. So he's putting projects off. And I said, "Oh, it'll come back down." He says, "No, I don't think so." He thinks that this new pricing structure that's brought in by the pandemic, where the major Amazons and Walmarts, they've quietly bumped things up, that these prices may hold, and we're going to have to get used to them. Like it's a lot of things are new. It's going to be a new reality. So I'm hoping that some of these prices, again, these were one-offs and special cases,
sure.
but I'm hoping that we see a bit of bump in insert sets. Like it's sad for me to think, shit, these Fleer sets are basically worth what I paid for them back in the day.
Yeah,
And the insert sets, and there's some nice sets. Now, where I did well is obviously on the autographs and those kinds of things. They
sure.
did particularly well. But you know, the more you put out, the less.
Yeah, I just went through storage and I picked up some stuff like some of the tops, like the magnets they first put out, like the magnet cards, and I found some like insider foils. And I went online to go see what they were going for to see if I want to get rid of my singles. I'm like, it's not even worth it. The same price they were 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
For a lot of that stuff. For a
It
lot of
was
that.
just sort of, and that's what was the Rock. The Rock seemed to kind of gone up a little bit in value, but
Yeah, Rock and Cena, like you'll see a Cena card that's worth a little more out of a set, and again, Sasha and Charlotte and Bailey and especially Alexa. Like I had no idea Alexa until I went back and sort of pinpointing her and looking at her across the board, and like, wow, she's very, very popular.
oh, popular girl. All right.
Yeah,
Well, it's interesting, eye-opening for people who are just getting into the hobby for the first time, or those who've been in it for a long time, and like myself,
yeah.
and don't really keep track of pricing. That's why I always go to your website, man.
Thank you.
Always. So maybe we should get together and do this again, maybe next month.
Yeah,
See
man.
what's going on.
It's awesome to talk with you.
Always. So
All right.
let's until next time, sir.
I hope everyone out there has fun collecting, and
Yeah,
we'll
me
see you.
too. Where can people find you?
TheWrestlingPriceGuide.com and on Twitter @card_guide.
You can find me everywhere at WrestlingTradingCards.com. Everywhere.
The best wrestling card site on the web.
I don't know about that, but we're getting there. We're getting close.
Hang on. If you're not, who is?
I think it's a combination of people now. It's like that. So we're working on it. We're trying to get back there.
Well, best of luck, brother.
All right. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks.